and gentlemen, even though there are no ladies here, we're live, the Building Walls podcast. Mr. Dayton, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. The world's on edge. Everybody's burning things down to the ground. The whole world's on fire, and
Everybody's burning things down.
My throat. So I've got a little Woodford. Cheers to the world coming to an end.
We got special guests with us this week. The notorious Brandon Gentile. It was almost B.I.G. What is your middle name?
It's McNeil.
I was hoping that it was Ian.
Oh man,
could have been the notorious B.I.G.
or Isaac.
Notorious BMG.
Brandon Isaac.
The notorious BMG. So Brandon, welcome on the show here. I know we've had you on before. It's always good.
Welcome back.
Your lovely face. The CEO
Return,
of
guys.
Mitten Made Properties.
Yes, thanks for having me, guys. I love building walls with you guys. That's all I can say.
That's right.
Fantastic.
So
we're going to start into it a little bit here. This is just obvious. Russia, Ukraine. It has begun. A week after, I remember last show we were talking about how they've started to move in and invade, but they haven't done anything yet. And literally, I think it was it that night or the next morning?
It's like, Wednesday. We do
I'm
our
like,
show
oh
on
my
Tuesday.
gosh.
Our wholesome story of the week, last episode, if you want to go tune in and listen to that real quick.
Yeah, Russia hasn't
wholesome
killed
story.
anybody yet.
Russia has not invaded the Ukraine, and then that did not age well, as we have the very next day, before this was even published, that Friday, they had already invaded, and
that's on me.
We're going to talk about it.
That's on me.
Russia.
Have you seen some of those videos? Technology nowadays has really put a different spin on this. I mean, they have drone footage of missile systems getting bombed or missiled.
It's crazy watching a war in real time.
Yeah.
Think about that. We never, in the history of the world, we really haven't had that. I mean, even the Gulf War, in the early 90s wasn't, that was over pretty quickly. They rolled up, they put their hands up and said, we quit. And then, you go back to Vietnam, they had TV, but it was like delayed. And, we're getting live because everybody has a camera in their hand. That's the thing. All these people have the ability to broadcast Facebook Live or, Instagram Live, all these opportunities to do that. And it's pretty nuts. What do you think, Brandon? You think this is going to change things?
I have a question for you quick as you're rolling into this. Do you think having that video makes it seem more real, or do you feel like it numbs us to what's actually going on?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think right now it definitely makes it more real for everybody. I mean, long term, maybe it desensitizes people to it potentially. So I think you might be onto something there. However, who knows? Maybe initially, I think it maybe makes things it just makes things more real for people, obviously up front. And I mean, as we know, the world we live in now just has a very low tolerance for any bad things going on in life. Whether it's war on down to whatever. So I think it plays against any aggressors because we are a world filled of anti-aggression now. So it doesn't look good. Not good for Putin. He looks like he's the aggressor clearly. There's they say they're not, but whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't look good, and I think it does change the complexity regardless going forward, like you guys already noted. So I think it's a game changer, really, just social media and live streaming.
It's tough to say you're not the aggressor when you're going into someone else's space.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I stepped into your personal space, it's hard to be like, oh, well, Chris isn't the aggressor here. Well, yeah, you are. Back up. Get out of my face. In this case, get out of my country. Like you came across like this is where we're at. Like,
yeah. So what do we know? Did Ukraine, they supposedly bombed some stuff and wiped some stuff out before Russia went in? Probably when you guys were doing the podcast. Do we know? I mean, we don't know if that I'm not the person to say. It's above my pay grade. Was that real? Was that set up? Was it not? That's what we don't know. Stuff like that. And it's all we know is what the media is telling us, obviously.
Yeah, because there's
yeah, right.
that's so true, because there's very interesting footage. So there was 2 missile systems side by side in a forest on one of the videos that I saw, and they bombed one of them. I'm watching this video. The other one never gets bombed. And I'm thinking to myself, you can clearly see that there's 2 side by side, and they took out one. So, like, why does the video stop here? And it almost leads you to believe, like you said, do we actually know what's going on?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I was thinking is, does it almost seem like it's desensitizing us to this stuff? Because I feel like why some people, play around with firearms, so to speak, is because they don't understand what a firearm can actually do.
Yeah.
That's a weapon that can take someone's life. If I shoot you with a pellet gun or a BB gun, I'm most likely not gonna kill you. And then we play these video games, but then you watch videos like this, and we may see explosions, we may see death, but we never feel it. We never realize what that death actually is unless we've experienced it. So you watch some of this stuff, and it almost makes you question, what is the angle, or what exactly is going on here?
Yeah, well said. And that's it. Just there's a lot of let's cut right to the chase, I guess. We've talked about this earlier today. Chris and I, we talked about this, and the group this morning, stuff like that. It's always hard. It's hard to tell. Retrospect, obviously, you go Monday morning quarterback, but that's easy, and you can't really do that in these situations. But it looks very fishy. You had 2 weeks ago, or I think it was 10 days ago, you had Biden, and they were doing press conferences saying this is when they're going to attack. I mean, they actually called like the date and time much that he attacked, and it actually happened. I mean, like, I remember seeing that, being like, there's no way. Like, any general, any person that, like, why would I attack? Like, when they called it out 5 days prior, it just made no sense. There's so much smoke. I haven't found the fire yet, and I know it's not a great analogy, but there's just so much smoke around the area. It just feels very fishy. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. And what amazes me, though, is that there's so many people pontificating, and there's so many experts on Russia and Ukraine now all of a sudden. And, it just blows me away. And I'm sitting here, and again, Dates and I talked about this earlier today. I've been studying this stuff for 10 years, 20 years. And I don't pretend to know more than 1% of what's going on. And yet you just have all these people with these massive, allegations, and like, I know what's going on. And it's like, do you though? I mean, it's like, you can't even figure out your finances from day to day, yet you're going to tell us on Russia, Ukraine. That just stuff blows me away. And that's where I think my point with all this is, like, hold your horses and do some, flipping research before you go down the rabbit hole. And Russia, or, Putin might be the aggressor. He might be the next Hitler. I don't know. I'm not here to say that. I think the point is, do your own research, do your own homework, and make your own decisions, because it just feels very fishy, because the entire world we're freezing Russia out of everything. And we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And Russia's bad on both sides of the aisle. It just feels very staged. Biden's calling things out a week ago or 2 weeks ago, like, to the day. You'd think if you're the aggressor, you would, like, not do that at that time, and like, what, maybe we should back it up a day, or maybe we should. It just feels very off. Something is off. But maybe I'm completely wrong. So
Russia.
all I do know is that Mitt Romney is laughing at Barack Obama right now when he said, 10 years ago now, almost to the day, that Russia was the biggest foe. But the 80s want their foreign policy back. So yes, you got the last laugh on that.
So, Dayton, what do you think would be different here if your man Donald Trump was still in office?
Well, I'll tell you, I think a lot of things would be different. First of all, we can all agree Joe Biden's pretty weak on foreign policy. Weak Joe Biden has got us in this thing. I hate to say it, but he's going to be getting us into World War III. That's probably going to happen, but it wouldn't have happened if I was running the show. I'll tell you why, because I stand up to Putin. I can look him in the eye. I can tell him that the United States is not going to play ball with what he wants to do. And we're going to have to take it to the front line. We were going to have to do that anyway. But, some big things are happening, Chad. Some big things. Big things are happening all around. And, no, I'm telling you, I think Trump is crazy, And he was crazy enough to keep those people from doing anything because they didn't know if he was going to drop a bomb or be like, you know what? Trump would probably be like, I dare you. Go ahead. Make my day. He'd like go crazy. Just be like, go ahead. Go invade them and watch what happens next. I'm going to break your banks. I'm going to break your people. I'm going to take over your land, and I'm going to blow it up to smithereens. That's probably what Trump said in a private meeting with Putin. And then smiled and went, huh? We're good, right? We're good. You want to go get some Arby's now? Because I love the meats. Let's go.
I loved I saw there was somebody posted an Instagram picture, and it was an article reported saying that Putin wouldn't attack the US when Trump was president because he was, quote, a bit of a thug. Now that's since a deleted post, and you can't find that anywhere on the internet.
Right.
But the one thing that sticks in my mind is we all know this when we were kids. And if you knew a bully, maybe you were a bully. But if you have issues with a bully, how do you confront a bully?
Straight to the nuts.
Right. You hit him square in the jaw.
Boom.
That's what Trump did. Now we have Uncle Joe.
And you do it in front of everybody.
Right.
That's actually key too. You got to crush him in front of everybody.
So now we have Uncle Joe here, who he's not punching any bully square in the jaw. Instead, they're like, we'll throw a few sanctions on them. If they do invade, we'll throw some more sanctions. Russia doesn't care about your sanctions because we're already buying oil from them. Like, what are we cutting off? Because we've already cut off our own oil supply. We can't cut off oil supply from the rest of the world.
See,
but think about that too, right? Is we've put ourselves in a position to get oil from the bully, but then say that we're going to sanction the bully.
Russia's enriching themselves. Like that's what's so fascinating about all this is that they have bought literally tons and tons of gold in the last 10 years since the crash, since the great financial crisis, and have massive gold quantities, and which have gone up $100 now per ounce in the last week, which is the biggest move in a couple years. And you have oil spiking, and there's people saying $150, $200 a barrel could easily happen in the next week or two. So their balance sheet is ballooning at this point. And so he's just laughing. I mean, he's just completely laughing. And that's where, again, he might be the worst guy in the world, but you have to start asking questions as to what's going on, what's being covered up, what's not, why is one thing being talked about, others aren't. That's why I think that everyone's just missing. It's just like we started out, it's just social media and just everyone, which, gets at us all, which you have to pray for both sides. That's the thing that I don't get either. It's just constantly Ukraine, where it's like, there's tons of good people on the Russian side too, that don't want to be in war. They're protesting. At least we think they are. It looks like they are in St. Petersburg, Putin's hometown. They're protesting there. They don't want war. There's text messages, right, of a soldier that died that said, I don't want to kill civilians, or telling me to do it. And now he's dead. So it's, I just don't get like to just Ukraine. It's like there's humans on both sides here. And it's just the leaders that are doing stupid things and making horrible decisions. And that's
actually why I've never understood the sanctions strategy, because the sanctions hurt the population.
Exactly.
It doesn't do anything to Putin.
Yep.
He's like, whatever. I don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's a communist country.
Right.
Yeah. All you're doing is by
he
doing
controls the flow of money.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've always kind of worried about, like, because I tried to put myself, okay, what would you do? Not what would Trump do, but like, what would I do for real? And if someone said, yeah, we can do these sanctions, we're going to freeze out all the assets, we're going to do all this stuff, we're going to cripple them and grind everything to a halt. Well, okay, so I want these people to, still respect us, but now you're creating an entire country of enemies because of the things that you did to all of the people instead of directing it. Like, can we not get MI6? Where's James Bond? Like, let's go assassinate Putin and call it a day. Like, if the dude's nuts and he's ordering people to do all these things and everybody's kind of like, dude, are you sure? Like, this is not going to go well for us. And he's like, no, we got this. Like, at some point, somebody inside has to be like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. Just the same way that I'm pretty confident that would have happened to Trump had he decided, I'm going to start going and invading places. Someone from the inside of the United States would be like, yeah, we're not doing that.
The other thing too that I think is really, because this is what I think is tough. And again, moving this just a tiny bit, is there's the praying for both sides, who's right and who's wrong. And then there's like the political aspect, which I think is like being obviously taken advantage of in massive ways. And again, I'm sure there's points on the right to point out, but you have people on the left generally that it's just amazingly they're all for border control, giving guns to citizens to fight, but you can't do that here, or Canadian truckers can't do that. They can't fight for their freedom either. I mean, it's just, there's so many weird things going on. You have Swalwell coming out and saying we need to take Russians out of the U.S. Universities. You know, like we're going to put them in Japanese internment camps, like in World War II, like FDR did. You know, like that's another progressive did the same thing in World War II, and now you've got the progressives saying the same things, and it's hard. It's very hard to kind of delineate a lot of, you know, just for the average person and for all of us to kind of figure out what's going on here. But like, why is that being said? Why would we be taking, you know, athletes out of their teams? You know, like what do they have to do with? I mean, that's what's just mind blowing to me, and trying to, and I think a lot of it's just chaos. It's just chaos campaigns, and they're, you know. Anyway, I'm not going to say much more actually, because I don't want your video to get taken down off of YouTube eventually, because it's just there's so many questions to be asked, and it just,
I love it, man.
They're just never asked by.
Yeah, I mean, so there's
thoughts and views represented here today are not necessarily the views of the Building Walls podcast or its
we're safe now,
or its vendors.
Yeah, we're safe now. We're good.
Totally safe.
Brandon, go ahead and speak your mind.
Totally safe.
One of the things that caught me off guard, kind of going into what you're saying, is how much of this media is focused on how bad Russia is. Like I read the article from the Daily Wire talking about how Russia has mobile crematoriums. So when someone dies, they take that body, throw it in the back, burn it, move on to the next one. So they're trying to erase, according to the media, they're trying to erase any notion that they were there, or that someone was there, or who was even killed.
Any statistics of what their cost is.
Yeah. Because we all know what the Russians did in World War II when Stalin was heading that. It was one guy's in front, he gets shot. Well, there's 10 more guys behind him. Push on through until we take all the area we need.
Yep.
So it's almost, from what we see, they're trying to put it in that same framework. And I mean, obviously, I love listening to you, because you do your due diligence and have read up on a ton of this and what is actually going on. And you both guys make great points about the sanctions. Sanctions don't hurt Putin; they hurt the people.
Right. And let's not let Castro's son get out scot-free here, Trudeau. I mean, like we were talking about this earlier. Yeah, when's the last time you heard the Freedom Trucker Convoy, or about, you know, the cerveza sickness or inflation here in America? Now it's all Russia's fault. You know, no one's talking about any of that. And that's where, again, this is separate. This is the political side now using it to their advantage. And so you have Russia and Ukraine. These people might be super evil, whatever. That's one part of it. And the other part is, okay, watch what the politicians do to make this about what's going on over there. And now we have nothing in the media being talked about that actually matters over here, quite honestly, because we could have our own, like you already mentioned, we could have our own energy independence. We shot ourselves in the foot. I mean, how many times in the last year? And now we're not independent. So now we are buying it from them, the evil people. And now we're, you know, like it goes round and round. And now we're not talking about Trudeau. We're not talking about inflation here. That's been here for a year, and it's their fault now. So it really is very, very timely. Let's just say that. Coincidental.
That is true. I was going to ask you guys, do you know what's going on with the Freedom Convoy anymore?
It's in America. They're in New Mexico, I think, or something.
I saw they were passed through Oklahoma. I think they're rolling into DC.
Yeah, but they don't talk about it
imminently.
Nope. Yeah, they don't talk about it.
I have no idea what exactly is going on up in Canada with that. I assume they're still protesting, right? Still getting arrested, still getting beat.
Yeah. You know, Trudeau literally was about to get ousted from office, probably, if that went on for another week. I mean, he was doing so poorly. That looked so bad. And now it's gone. It's gone. Because that's Klaus's guy. That's Klaus's little,
just like COVID
child. Yeah, that's.
Do you think Putin's going to win a Nobel Peace Prize for getting rid of COVID globally?
Maybe Putin's going to win or Trudeau's going to win. One of
That's facts, man. Facts.
Or Joe.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
fantastic for
Throw
them.
that out there.
I mean, look, even the thing tonight. I just went on Fox News, .com really quick to look up. It's like Biden's State of the Union speech will highlight how America is ready to make Russia pay a price for invasion. Was ready to make they still invaded, man. And it's going to all be about Russia tonight. It's like, how about the millions of problems we had before a week ago? Like, I mean, this is the playbook. The point is, the playbook is always the same. War always is the scapegoat for everything. Getting rid of inflation. It's all these things to just like heap on the pile and say, oh, it's all their fault. We need to print more currency, whatever. It's just over and over again. And the citizens all fall for it every time.
Yeah, I remember reading an article earlier talking about how interest rates are on their way back down because of what's going on now and the inflationary pressure. And there's always a cover up, so to speak. I want to get your guys' take on a couple things here. So one thing I found interesting was, there's all this stuff about we stand with Ukraine. But then everyone wants to pull out of Russia. The Biden administration's offering Zelensky a way to escape. And he's like, no, I'm going to stay here and fight. So we do things like that, yet we still allow the Olympics to be held in China. So Russia's so bad because they're a communist country, but it's okay to go support China, to send our best athletes to go support a different communist country.
Stafford wasn't there.
And then on the second hand, Stafford was not there. On the second hand is the Biden administration that was giving intel to China saying, hey, China, we want you to stop Russia. Why would you give intel to another communist country that has no inklings of changing towards our ways of democracy, thinking that they're going to do you right when dealing with another communist country?
Exactly.
Like, what's your guys' take on some of that stuff? It's embarrassing from our government that the Biden administration would even do something like that.
Yeah, elections have consequences, right? That's what you get. You play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. That's all it is. That's you get what you deserve. You get what you vote for, or don't vote for. Whatever.
Didn't Kamala just say that? I thought Kamala just said, "Yeah, you get what you vote for," and it's like, yeah.
And that, it's like, you get them, and I don't know. It's just praying for the both sides. Like asking questions. No one. It seems there's so much smoke out there, and that's what's so crazy to me. It's like, why is everyone just jumping on this one side, especially the public, because the public has no idea what's going on, literally zero idea what's going on. And then we're just glomming onto this one side without knowing a thing. It just feels very weird. Again, Russia could be the most evil people on the planet, but like, how do you know? No one knows. I mean, they don't know. The public has no idea. They have zero clue what's going on. And that's where it's like, can we just ask like a question or two? Can you wait a day or two to before you like make, can you study for a little bit before you open your mouth? That's it. That's all I'm asking.
It's mostly a peaceful invasion, according to CNN.
Mostly peaceful invasion. Missiles going off in the back.
And your smoke is the buildings that are blowing up in Ukraine. That's all the smoke. Come on, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon.
Yeah, let's go, Brandon.
Yeah. It is. I mean, I guess my larger point of all this too is that it's just a total frustration with propaganda everywhere, all the time, 24/7, and we're just inundated with it, and you don't know what to believe. It's information paranoia, quite honestly, but rightfully so, because we've been lied to for decades, really for hundreds of years. I mean, forever. I mean, you've always been lied to in some way, shape, or form from media or paper or whatever it is. The church lied, and whatever. It's like. Yeah, I mean, it's just happening, but I think it's just not asking questions. The thing that just pisses me off so much. It's just like, we ask questions, and like we have all this access to information and people on the ground, and we just don't do it. Just remarkable.
It is. It's crazy.
It is. But what are the positives? Bitcoin fixes all that.
I was gonna say, what do you think crypto plays into all this, Brandon?
Oh my gosh, it's if there was ever a better advertisement for the Bitcoin network, the last month, February of 2022 was the billboard for, hey, do you like your wealth and do you want to keep it? And do you want to increase your wealth over time and not have anyone steal it? Well, then come and buy Bitcoin and join the network, run a node, secure the network, and be part of the solution. It incentivizes peace, because now it's game theory. Instead of us shooting missiles and lobbing missiles at each other, now it would just be more intelligent to go buy Bitcoin, and the network, everyone hardens the network together, and the price keeps going up. So like the Federal Reserve should just be going and buying Bitcoin like crazy, because Russia's going to jump in. I mean, at some point they're going to, who knows? He's an intelligent guy. He's not, he might be crazy or a madman, but he's smart. And they know they're going to price it in Bitcoin, oil and Bitcoin soon, stuff like that. I mean, they know what's going on. I've been buying gold for 10 years. They know what's up. So that's coming, and it's decentralized, immutable, permissionless, trustless. There's nothing like it we've ever seen. Bitcoin, not crypto, Bitcoin. So it's really, we're on the precipice of going to the next level of human society if we want to. Otherwise, we descend into dystopia. Quick synopsis, I think. Central bank digital currencies, they run your life. If you want the last month on steroids going the opposite direction, we just saw a preview of it. It's Trudeau freezing you out because he doesn't like what you ate this morning. He doesn't like that you said something bad about him. That's coming. It's either choose one way where you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, no one can say anything about it, Bitcoin network, or you're going to go central bank digital currencies, and that's it. Game over. I mean, it's binary choice. That's all there is to it.
So there's a few things that you mentioned I'd like to hear you explain a little bit more, not just for me, but for the audience too. You mentioned that now it's game theory. So explain a little bit more about what you mean by that.
So, I mean, game theory it has to do, especially with network effects. When people are joining a network, it becomes less and less. There's more and more incentive for you to join the network and be part of the game instead of being a sideline observer. Because if the network keeps growing and the value of something keeps getting larger and larger, now it's like Facebook in a way, right? Like network effects. Like if everyone's on Facebook and more people are there, I mean, you're the only guy not there. And I'll do it now too. Like I'll see young people, I know some who are like, they're not on Facebook or they're not on a social media platform. I'm kind of like, and they think it's like a badge of honor, which in a way it is, I guess. But I was kind of like, to kind of look at them sideways, like, so you're like just not in the real world, or, which inherently I shouldn't think that way, but I do subconsciously. I'm just kind of like, okay, like that's kind of weird. Point being, Bitcoin, when you have all these properties, whether it's, the immutability, you can't do anything censorship resistant, but the value, you not only get those qualities, but then you can actually gain wealth by owning the network itself, which has never been done before. Zuckerberg owned it before, and then he made it public finally. You can have some shares in it maybe, but he owns and controlled all that. Now it's controlled by the miners or the nodes, people running nodes, or the owners of that system. So you can share in that, and then the value is increased every time that someone joins the network as the network grows, and it incentivizes people because their wealth is now being held in here, and incentivizes good behavior inside the network. So now if I do something stupid in the network, or I try to attack the network for some reason, or I'm trying to screw with somebody, and now it detracts from the network. And so now my value is less. So it's so brilliantly designed, and that's game theory in a nutshell, I guess. That's, I don't want to get into it too far into the weeds, but I hope that makes sense. It's better incentive, more incentivization for joining the network rather than just sitting on the sideline and observing.
Palpatine said it best. Join us. Let's build an empire.
So, Brant, I got another question for you there. Is you referenced Bitcoin specifically a few times in comparison to crypto as a whole. So why do you point out Bitcoin, versus Ethereum or anything else?
So yeah, I mean, it's a great question. That's kind of like the question of the day right now, obviously, with people in the investing world or whatever. It's very different. And like even Fidelity wrote a piece in the fall. They wrote a white paper or like a PDF, a published report. It was like 30 pages in November or October, and it was just called Getting Off Zero. And it was just talked about like you have to own some Bitcoin. Like the biggest risk you take is not owning any Bitcoin at this point, like 1%. 5%. You have to have some part of your portfolio in Bitcoin. And then they just came out with one last month that was called, that one's getting on zero. And then, this one was called Bitcoin First. So it is talking about how different Bitcoin is compared to everything else. It's really like Bitcoin is its own class. And then you got all these altcoins. I mean, at the end of the day, all the altcoins are securities. So they're all just like Apple, Facebook, they have owners, they have marketing teams, companies, they have, private funding beforehand, initial coin offerings, whatever. So there's securities, and they're going to be regulated by the SEC. Gary Gensler, the SEC chair, they've already, multiple heads of the different alphabet soup company, organizations have already said, basically like, we're gonna figure it out because we're gonna regulate these things because they're securities. I mean, they're the definition of a security, and they're not. A lot of them make these accusations of like, we are decentralized. Well, you're not. I mean, there's nothing compared to Bitcoin. I mean, we can go down the list of things, but everyone can look it up fairly easily to see what the difference is. But there is no owner in Bitcoin. It's decentralized. We're seeing it play out in real time now. They can't go take your funds. They can't go do things to you. And that's why they're scared. That's why El Salvador, the IMF is like, hey, El Salvador, you better get rid of that Bitcoin, because the elites know that people are waking up to Bitcoin, and they're scared shitless because they don't control that. And that's the way they rule the world. That's why we have these wars. That's why we have these problems. That's why we have rampant inflation, is because they control the currency printing, and now that's slipping away from them. So now they're freaking out. That's why you see the fist coming down harder and harder, and we're freezing your accounts. Well, we're doing this and that because they're gonna keep squeezing harder and harder and harder as they feel that us slipping through their grasp. So before I go on another tangent, everything is a security, and then there's Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a decentralized property, and IRS even said so. I think it was 2014. They classified it as a property. So you have real estate and Bitcoin are looked at as properties, and in its code, it's free speech basically. And then you have altcoins, which are going to all be regulated, which is fine. So there's two ways to look at it. Everything in my life revolves around freedom, always has, always will. So like that's Bitcoin. As soon as I understood it, started investing in it a handful of years ago, but I didn't understand it until a year and a half ago.
It's a white supremacist.
Yeah. Which is ironic. Ironically, that's the whole most hilarious thing in the world, because there is no left or right or up or down or black and white in Bitcoin. It's literally permissionless. No one can tell you if you're a broke kid in Ethiopia, you can get it if you have an internet connection. That's the beauty of Bitcoin, and that's what's so funny about all the stupid things you hear about Bitcoin. It's just people, you can very easily see the person hasn't studied 50, 100 hours on Bitcoin. They say these like, well, what if this or what if that, or like, oh, that's for those people. No, they clearly don't know. They haven't studied the network and what happens and how it works. Like green energy. It's like the most green thing in the world. The World Economic Forum just put a report out 5 years ago. Like Bitcoin is going to consume all of the energy in the world by 2020. I mean, do we have to go down the World Economic Forum, tangent, down the rabbit hole here with Klaus? I mean, my gosh, 0.27% of the energy in the world is used by that network. And it's just going to keep, using whether it's gas flaring or other, resources, volcanoes in El Salvador. It's using these untapped sources on Earth, or these things that are emitting bad or dirty energy, and it's transferring that into mining of Bitcoin, things like that. I mean, it's remarkable when you actually look into what's going on. Because I had all these questions too over the years, and then you start researching this and figuring out, you're like, wow. I mean, so long story long. It's Bitcoin is freedom. It's life. It's what everything. It's going to allow us to go to Mars and have. I mean, you listen to guys like Peter Diamandis, who's literally creating stuff with Elon Musk about going to Mars, living on Mars, living in space bubbles. He's a huge Bitcoin proponent. The guy is whether it's Michael Saylor or Diamandis or astrophysicist, rocket scientist, and there's like, yeah, like Bitcoin is what's going to help us go and like live, interplanetary, stuff like that. I mean, you just listen to these geniuses, and it's just like, holy cow. Now you listen to guys like Raoul Paul, who's a brilliant guy, hedge fund guy. He's an investor at heart. So you listen to like investors, and those guys will talk about like, well, I love this altcoin, or like I love Solana, or I love Ethereum, I love this and that. Well, that's because they're more investor guys, and it's like a lot of the guys that broke off from the Bitcoin world, even that are working on those projects, they didn't have the patience. Bitcoin's too slow for them, or like, or they, whatever it was, because they were looking for other solutions for things, which is fine. And I think there'll be some semblance of those things, but I think eventually long term, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I think everything will eventually get eaten by Bitcoin. That's my That's my play of the day. So if someone wants to go put money on that, there's going to get eaten by that, because it's just going to slowly just eat everything, consume all of that. It's going to consume bonds, I believe. Negative yielding bonds. Why would you want a negative yielding bond when you can get 150% a year compounding return on Bitcoin? I mean, it's just all these little things. You're just like, why would I have insurance? Why would I buy life insurance? Because if I am getting 5 to 6% in a whole life policy, why not get 150% in Bitcoin and own this network that's appreciating 150% instead of an insurance policy that for $1 million, that's only 4% a year, 5% a year, 6% a year. But in 30 years, my wife can have the Bitcoin that one Bitcoin is be worth $10 million. But my policy is still worth $1 million. And if there's rampant inflation, what now was my fucking policy worth? Not worth anything. So like, you just keep going these rabbit holes. You're just like, wow, like this is insanity. So and anyway, it's just, like I said, you can see whether it's countries, whether it's fund managers, billionaires, one by one, you see every day someone the light goes off in their head. They're like, oh my gosh, like Fidelity or whatever it is. Like you're seeing that with every person, like each day, someone else is like, someone comes on the network, comes online. So that's my
Dayton. Gentile used our quota for the show.
What about
that?
Yeah, the one F-bomb.
Yeah, we forgot to tell you that it's a rated PG-13 thing.
Right.
But
we can use
today
one.
we're rated R.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome, by the way. You just rolled.
Oh man. Dude, fire me up.
I mean, we gotta tee it up. I mean, let's rotate this in. My favorite part of the show. Let's go. Cue it up. The rant. Boom.
I think my favorite part of the show just came and went. Like Brandon rolling there. That was fantastic. I'm going to give my quick little plug. Truly has margarita flavors now. This is watermelon cucumber. If you like something a little fruity, feeling a little special, it's a fantastic drink. I love it. Can't wait to spend some time on the beach when I move. Drink some Trulies. But what I'm going to get into here is the work ethic of, to totally spin off some of this, is the work ethic of younger people, or the work ethic of people, period. And most notably, from what I've experienced recently, is Gen Z. And I say all this with love for our Mr. Producer, Matthew. This has nothing to do with any conversations that we've had. This is based on zero interactions that I've had with you, because he's also a Gen Zer. But I feel like there's this. He is an anomaly. That's financial Jesus.
Financial Jesus.
I feel like recently I've ran into people who are younger, and they think that just because they're young, or because they're a certain age, or they went to college and graduated, that they should be gifted X amount of money per year. And like, yeah, you can do that, but you also have to work. There's a very important piece to that. And it's a 4-letter word. It's called work. And what I'm going to say is, when you read the Bible, what does it say there? If you don't work, you don't eat. And now there's a lot of people out there who do work hard and are most likely underpaid based on the amount of work they do. But for certain, their time will come. Because when you're someone who is, let's say, 20 years old, you put in the work for the next 10 years of your life, it will come to you tenfold over. But there's a lot of people out there, this is what rubs me the wrong way, who think that just because they went to college, 10 years from now, they can continue to do what they're doing. But not because they're 10 years older, they should be paid more. They haven't acquired any additional skill sets, haven't improved at their job or their work or their career. They haven't done anything to get paid more. They just think they should get paid more because they're, 20 years old, 22 years old, went to college. And if you listen to the show, if you know someone who listens to the show, all I have to say is, if you don't work, you don't eat. If you want to get paid more, like I said, this is not for everyone. There's a lot of people out there who do work hard, but you got to put in the work first. You have to put in the work first. Nothing grinds my gears more is when you see someone come in, especially if you're in sort of a mentor role, and they're just, yeah, you're like, why are you answering the phone call? Like, is that a work call? No. Are you caught up on work for the day? No. So why are you answering that call? I'm not saying that you can totally forget about your personal life. There's a time and a place for it. But if you work a job and someone's paying you to work a specific job, and you've agreed to get into that partnership, that means you've agreed to work for them for X amount of dollars. And if you're going to agree to that partnership, then work for them, because everything will always come back to bite you in the ass. That's it. That's all I got. That was nothing compared to what Brandon just said and did.
Yep.
If you listen to this and you think that was great, go back a few minutes. Listen to Brandon.
Yeah, if you tuned in late, you missed it.
Different kind of rant. Love that. Well said. That's needed, though. Boy, oh boy, is that needed, Chad. Holy
I
cow.
appreciate you.
Jeez.
So let's get into the wholesome story here. One, I'll say it again. I was totally wrong about Russia. They're now invaded. Like Brandon said, our government was literally like Wednesday at
8 o'clock.
At noon. Yeah. Russia is going to bring lethal force. And oh my God, videos on Facebook. But to talk about a little good news, this one hits home to me. Guinness Brewing Company is brewing good by cutting carbon footprint of its barley farms.
Who cares?
That's why I didn't read any more of the article. I thought the headline was awesome, and I'm like, I'll leave it at that because I really don't give a shit.
You just like Guinness, and that was it. Like, let's just call it what it is. It's a good beer.
I love Guinness, and I don't care if they're cutting the carbon footprint or not, because China still puts more plastic into the ocean than the U.S. ever will.
Yep.
China. Yep. Sometimes I just miss the way he says.
The more you know.
China.
No. Yeah. Have you ever? I'm sure you got something that you've looked into that a little bit, Brandon. But doesn't it, like, when you hear people say how, oh my God, thank God that Starbucks now is doing paper straws versus plastic straws. The U.S. is so great for the environment.
I know I don't hang out with the right kind of people, but I've never once in my life heard anyone say that. And that's where, but in backing up what we're saying, though, if you look at any political poll when people are going to vote around campaign season, where does climate fit in like a list of 10 things that the voter cares about most in the country? Where does it always fit? Dead last, always single digits, what people care about. That's where, again, questioning the whole, like we started the show, not questioning things of like, they keep pushing this and ramming this down our throat all the time. Every company, every politician, they're all ramming this down our throats and forcing us to go green. We're doing this and that. And it's like, I'm a hunter. I'm a fisherman. Like, I grew up hunting and fishing, like taking care of the environment. I planted more trees than, probably most people I know combined, and, planting crops and stuff with my father on, a farm I grew up on. And it's like, I never talk about going green. Like, of course I want the earth to be great. Like, I've got a family, moron, like it's, yeah, but if the free market says that they want that to be focused on, then the free market will focus on that, and it will incentivize already itself to go do that. People won't buy shitty companies, and they'll go just buy the company who's taking care of the environment. That's not what the market cares about. They've never cared about that, but yet governments keep forcing us, which is the Klaus Schwab. It's a great reset. It's the great narrative. That's what everyone is forcing down our throats, because that's the way they can control everyone, because it's global. It's a global issue. You can only control the globe with a global issue. So you can't control it with like a local problem over here at the millage. You can only control the globe with a global issue. And that's the thing they've been focusing on for 20 years, 30 years at minimum. I mean, probably actually 40, 50 years. So whether it was global cooling, then it was global warming, now it's climate change, now it's who knows what. And it's like, how does no one just ask? Like, it's polling terribly, always polls terribly. And yet they've changed this narrative. Every decade, it's a different narrative. It's a different thing. Al Gore said the world's going to blow up in 2010. I mean, it's 2022, guys. And no one thinks, I should like kick this guy out of office. I got to stop voting for this moron who keeps doing these stupid green initiatives and forcing us down our throat and bankrupting everything and shutting down pipelines. So now we're all paying triple in gas. I mean, it's like, what are we doing here? It's like, I don't know.
Now, see, I could add something into this conversation a little bit in relation to the green energy side of it, because as a fellow crypto enthusiast, miner, etc., there is one area where you are incentivized for green energy, and that is crypto mining, because your profits go to, once you've paid off all of your equipment, your profits are pure profit. You don't ever have to think about, oh, how much am I spending on electricity? None of that. Other than maintenance and repair on your equipment, it's pure profit, 100%.
There you go. Brilliant.
China.
Here's a free market at work.
I feel like me and Dayton are just along for the ride for this show when you guys start talking about crypto.
Whatever, dude.
I love it.
Me and the tech helicopter got a mining thing going. We're good.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah.
I like the backwards hat over there. Are you getting ready for something?
Yeah, what are you prepped up for?
Dude, I'm ready for the corner. I'm ready for
I
the
think,
State of the Union.
I think we're ready for
Once failed Joe. That's all.
Yeah, we're ready for Chris's corner here.
Jeez.
I love this segment. This is going to be fantastic. So, my first question to you: are we headed to World War III?
Can I phone a friend?
Can you call Trump?
Yeah, hey, I got a question. Sure, go ahead. Yeah, and in this section, Brandon, you and I are going to answer these questions together. So I'm going to answer, you can answer, and we'll go from there. So are we headed to World War III? Yeah, man. We got Russia and China taking on the U.S., England, France, and Germany. Let's go. Round one.
Axis and allies.
There you go. Axis and allies, man. Let's go. Cyber warfare, I think, is going to be a big thing.
Yeah,
I think a lot of subtleties. You know what's happening in Ukraine right now with the Russia rolling up old school with all their military and stuff. That's because they're trying to actually take the territory and they want to maintain the property, if you will. That's my personal opinion. They're trying to. Honestly, what I think is happening is Putin really truly believes that the Ukraine is Russia. He doesn't acknowledge the fact that they're not. He's like, okay, well, we need to go back in and like kind of get our house in order. And it's like, no, dude, you're divorced. You can't go back to your ex-spouse and be like, look, bitch, we're getting together. Why would you want to do that anyway? She doesn't love you, man. She doesn't want to be with you. Just move on. Find a new chick.
But does she have a lot of natural resources that you want?
I mean, she's got the looks, you know. She's got things that I need.
You got the goods.
Oh man.
So what do you think?
I'll answer real quick. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we are. I mean, Putin even said himself, World War III will be fought with ones and zeros. So I mean, I don't think all the nuclear stuff. I mean, it's just talk. It's just him, whatever, doing whatever. Because that's mutually assured destruction. So it's not smart on his part. That's not going to happen. It's ones and zeros, like Chris alluded to, which is another could have a whole show on that, which is cyber attacks, which you already seen that a lot. And we've already had Klaus Schwab again. You're going to hear more and more about this guy, but he has already warned us a year or two ago, going to have massive cyber attacks and cyber pandemics. So he called his shot, told us there was stuff coming in the pandemic. Then he said, "Oh, now guys, be ready." It's because he's running half the stuff that's going on. So anyway, I'm not going to go any longer on this, but yeah, it's not going to be World War III in the sense. It's going to be World War E. It's not going to be World War III.
Wow.
Coined here first.
Yeah, remember copyright that.
I took that from Mike Maloney.
Trademark.
I've got his page up.
By the way. Oh, sweet. All right.
So, what's next here? Do you think Zelensky, the prime minister of Ukraine or president, whatever their title is do you think he's a real leader by staying around? Or do you think he should go, should he be evacuated? That way he can live to see another day.
Dude, I don't know. That's a tough question. That's like a true leadership question. And I think the answer lies somewhere in between. Because honestly, if you're the leader and you're going to run things, but you get taken out, it's like playing chess. If you lose your queen, who's your leader in the game, if you lose your queen right out of the gate, well, you're not going to win. You got to learn how to protect and live to see another day so that you can actually win the war. This is like that old adage: did you win the battle or did you win the war? You might lose that battle, because you back up or take flight, but you can win this war, and you got to decide which is more important. In this case, though, what it appears to be is that his people needed a rallying point, just a figure, an icon, something that they could get behind, and that's what true leadership is. Leadership, by definition, is having a following. So,
yeah,
well
said. I mean, I second everything he said. I think it's, you don't usually see it. I mean, when was the last time you had something like that happen, where the president or the prime minister stays and like fights? I mean, if it's true, again, who knows what's going on, what pictures are real and what videos are real or not. If it is true, I mean, it is amazing to see it. It's very cool to see that. So I love it. I mean, hopefully it is true. I mean, it looks, I love it. It looks awesome. But to Chris's point again, I mean, it's tough. I mean, if the queen bee gets killed, I mean, it's a different story, but it's standing and fighting it definitely is a paradigm changer. And that's where I think you hit the nail on the head, Chris. I mean, it seems like the Ukrainians really responded to that, whether it was propaganda or not. Brilliant by Ukraine to do that, obviously. And look what's happened because of it. So great point.
Yeah, Chris, that was awesome. It's almost like you've thought about that a little bit.
or know a few things about leadership, but
yeah. So I got a question.
I never get credit for the things that I say. I never get credit.
Okay.
Do you think crypto will play a role in stabilizing the world economy, or will it be a disruptor?
I think it'll be both. I think it's going to mess a lot of things up, and there's going to be a lot of tension as you shift through. It's almost like whenever you shift governments, like government structures, there's a period of almost anarchy as you regress through and then come out the other side, if you will. And I think that's going to be, eventually it will be a stabilizing force because it's the ultimate equalizer. It's kind of like the internet. The internet made it possible for the little guy to be able to compete with big corporations. Look at us. We're a little podcast, but you know what? We compete with Joe Rogan. We can get out. We can have the same thing. We just got to keep doing it longer and have good content and continue to have great guests like Brandon and, do things like that. But we can compete because we can actually get the voice out. The tech is there that we can do this from Michigan and Nebraska and Connecticut, right? And so I think crypto and Bitcoin, like Brandon was talking about earlier, I think that's going to be a great equalizer for people. And then, I'm gonna wrap with this. That's the interesting part is that your rant is going to be highlighted. These people who are lazy and don't understand prioritization of work, that will be highlighted because they won't earn and they won't be able to skate around that. There will be no getting around the no working thing.
Yeah. Yep. Well, dude, took the words out of my mouth. I mean, like you said, both. I mean, the answer is both actually. And it's for different reasons. Like it'll be a huge disruptor in the elites. For the elites, it's gonna be a massive disruptor, and we're already seeing that. They're already freaking out, whether it's IMF and then Nayib Bukele, the leader there, chirping the IMF, literally just going at him on Twitter. I mean, unbelievably hilarious things you've never seen before. It's kind of like Zelensky taking up arms. Like none of us have ever seen that before. Well, you have a guy, someone that's getting railroaded by this global entity, and he's just turning around, just thumbing his finger at them and just being like, yeah, screw you guys. We're sovereign. We don't care. Like, we have Bitcoin. Doesn't matter. You can't do anything about it. And that's unbelievable. Massive disruptor on the political side for the elites. Their playhouse is being burned down as we speak. If any of you have seen Shooter with Marky Mark, great movie. He's burning their playhouse down at the end of the movie. And that's what's happening. But on our side, on the people who love freedom, just the average person, unbelievable calm will come over the earth as time goes on because of Bitcoin, and because people will be able to have something increasing in value over time instead of us running on this hamster wheel because they keep printing more currency and devaluing all the things we're working for. That's what makes people just have to get up and work every day and not know what the hell they're doing, and they can't pay bills at the end of the month. That's because they keep inflating your currency away. The Federal Reserve was created, and they created the income tax the same year And that was the reason why, because now they had the reason to tax you because they were printing currency out of nowhere, which is now our national debt. So, and they even admitted, I mean, the Fed even admitted in the 40s, they had a white paper that said, yeah, there's no reason to tax you. We can print currency. We just do it to shape public opinion and shape politics and, incentivize people. That's it. Tax is a theft. And there, and again, that tax is theft, but there are some things we can do with it. Right. You can have the military, some things you can do with it. And I'm not going to go down that road of like arguing that, but in general, most taxation is theft and there's no point for it. But like Bitcoin, the calm that's going to come over because of like the guy down the street, the homeless guy in San Francisco, who's homeless and he can't get a loan or he can't do anything because he's unbanked, because he doesn't have an address or he doesn't have any credit score or the extortive model that they run on all of us. Now he can just plug in, download. He's got his phone. Yeah, they all have phones. Everyone's got phones. And then boom, he plugs in, downloads Strike or the Strike app or something like that. Buys, gets Bitcoin, someone sends him Bitcoin. Boom, he immediately can start growing his wealth or get loans against it or whatever he needs to do. And he's now banked, where the traditional system, the legacy system, will not let you do that. That is the disruptor for the elites, and then the calm that will come over all of us, for us, and like the good that it will bring. Game changer. Absolute game changer.
Man, I love Chris's corner because this is the one moment on the show for sure where I can just ask questions and then sit here and not have to say a word, and great content is being shared. It's fantastic. So my last question for you guys is: Bitcoin is on the path to become a global currency now. If so, how do we reconcile that with the desire to maintain like American nationalism and sovereignty when that becomes global?
Yeah, that's a $1 million question right there. Let's see, because it is a challenge. We talk about, you see what's going on. Ukraine is rallying around Ukraine, and they want to be independent. They want to be their own sovereign nation. You've got Germany, France, England, Spain, Italy. You got the whole EU. You got all that stuff there, and then there's Russia. There's and of course the United States, where we really truly do value our own nationalist approach. And that was really the big difference, I thought, between, what you see with, like Barack Obama and some of the left. They're globalists. They want to bring, the world together. They want to be the leaders of the whole world. They don't want to be president of the United States. They want to be leaders of the entire globe. And so they do things to be able to be globalists. And then you get a guy in like Trump who's like, you know what? No, America first. In fact, Germany, pay your bills. We're not going to keep defending you if you're going to keep buying, fuel from Russia, and then we're going to turn around and protect you from Russia. That's not going to happen anymore. So, you got to wake up. And Trump hammered everybody. It's like, we're doing us first. We're securing the border. You can't come here unless you have merit. And we like that. But then you get the part with crypto, with the Bitcoin, where, well, it doesn't matter if you're Chinese or if you're Spanish or German or American. It matters how much you have. I mean, to Brandon's point earlier, it's selfless. It's non discriminatory. It doesn't matter. You could be the Ethiopian kid. It doesn't matter. Yep. Your race, color, creed, or sex, or desire, or your pronouns, or none of that matters. It matters how much you have and what you do to earn it. So I do see it being kind of in conflict, because Bitcoin's like one of those things like, hey, let's get decentralized. Let's break away from the global model. And yet we're going to create a new global model. So I don't know. What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, it's a great question. And yeah, it's a great way to segue it to me, because that is the question. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it just kind of, I love it because I wrote down a few things and it kind of encompassed a bunch of things that all of us talked about, or some of us asked during this entire hour, being one of those things, which is like what Chad talked about, which is merit. People, working your ass off and merit. That's the answer is go buy a ton of Bitcoin. Go buy as much as you can, whether it's you individually and becoming sovereign. Like, I think we all have to start looking at ourselves as our own sovereign being instead of like, oh, we're a nation that type of thing. Because I think Bitcoin actually will change that a lot, but I think it will be for the better. It's going to be, people are going to look at it as like, I live at Bitcoin Beach in El Salvador, and that's like the area. You're not going to have as many wars going forward, things like that. People aren't going to be thinking in those terms, like the fiat terms of like, I'm running on the hamster wheel. Oh, screw that guy, shoot missiles at that guy because I'm trying to get all mine. I'm trying to get all my nuts and screw everyone else. It's not. It's different now. It's not. You're not sitting there and your currency is being eroded and your wealth being eroded every day just because you're sitting there. Now it's increasing in value as people join the network and as applications join the network and are built on it. Now you can just sit there and do nothing technically. If you want to do more, there's merit based, and you figured it out earlier than everyone else. So you bought more Bitcoin because you were intelligent. You did the research up front. You figured it out. That I think is going to be a massive game changer. So buying a ton, obviously, merit. So people will be like with a kid in Ethiopia or the Russians, like it knows no boundaries. Your enemy can buy as much Bitcoin and you can buy as much Bitcoin. And I think like Biden even talked about this like in the past year, how I forget the exact quote, but he talked about Bitcoin inhibits the America's ability to sanction people, which now coming full circle again, we just talked about what do sanctions do? It actually affects the lay people. It doesn't affect the elites, doesn't affect Biden or his cabinet or anyone like that, but it affects the people. And that's the irony in all of this, where the elites are being disrupted massively, and most of them have no idea yet. Most of the lay people don't even know yet. And what's going to happen is just going to be a flipping of the iceberg. The iceberg is just going to flip one day, and you might not even notice it, to be quite honest. Just their power just usurped one day at a time. And it's going to be parallel systems. I think we're going to have central bank digital currencies, but then you're going to have sovereignty over like, hey, I got Bitcoin. That's my wealth. That's my retirement. That's all whatever. And you should have some other stuff too. I mean, whether gold, silver, some real estate, whatever. Like you did not just Bitcoin necessarily, but it's, having that as your linchpin. And then you transact daily in your currency. You might live in El Salvador. You might live in China. You might live in Ukraine, you might live in America, UK, or whatever, and you transact daily in that currency, and you use Bitcoin as that wealth preserver, and you're lending against it, or you're taking some from that and converting it seamlessly. You won't have to do anything. It'll just seamlessly convert into the dollar or the denomination you're in. So I think those are some of the big things. There's the other thing I will say. Jason Lowry is an awesome guy to follow on Twitter. He's in the Space Force. And he's an MIT student right now. I think he graduates in a year or two. But he just wrote this thesis on Bitcoin and just the global military landscape of Bitcoin and what it will do for militaries going forward, basically. And he doesn't have it out yet. I'm sure he'll publish it once he's done with it. But he talks about it a lot, and kind of like that. A lot of what he does is based around these thoughts, and he's done a bunch of interviews talking about it, and it's just remarkable. So that's where like some of these thoughts and the way I think about it come from him on that angle, because in the Bitcoin community, there's just like every person has like these different angles they come from, which is fascinating in and of itself. Yeah, that's where I think it's going. But it's an unbelievable question, because I think it will create merit. I believe in America. I trust the American people to figure it out, and we will win. And that's why we want to have the mining here. We want to have we have a lot of it here now. In the last year, a lot of it moved here. I think 30% of it's now in America. A lot of it's in Texas, and that's where it'll be merit based. So I believe in America will figure it out though, and it's really a matter of national security, to be quite honest. So better go buy a ton.
You got it in Nebraska.
I was gonna say that.
Yep. Nebraska. CRM, baby.
Yeah. All right, so let's wrap it up here. By the way, you guys were absolutely fire there. It's fantastic.
Put some
It's easy when you got a good host.
Yeah, shoot. So, State of the Union address. I mean, this is gonna be an absolute doozy.
Is it on? Like, can you pull that up?
It's on.
Just started.
Who do you think? Who do you think gets more viewers, us or the State of the Union?
Well, if YouTube would have, didn't take the dislike button away, we'd know how many dislikes it got. But unfortunately,
yeah, it would definitely get more dislikes than what we would.
Yes, absolutely, guaranteed. Oh, by the way, another thing was under an hour, over an hour.
Oh, yeah. Under no. We said it I changed this. I talked to people. I set my line. The line is 48 minutes and 37 seconds.
Still under. I'm still going under. Whatever you say, I'm still going under. 21.
So the average one goes over an hour, right? I think it'll go over an hour because they're gonna write enough content for it to go over an hour. But over under, when you can even understand what Joe Biden's saying, is definitely under.
Yeah,
Like-
I mean, he does look good right now, though. He does look good. He looks spry. They got a lot of stuff in him today. They
All right,
injected
I got
a
it
lot of
queued
stuff
up.
in him.
Yeah, he was
there's
sleeping
lots
all
of
day.
applause.
He was sleeping
Oh.
all day, so he's
Absolutely
ready to go.
Ready to
Oh,
go.
there we go. There we go. We got it live.
Do it live.
We're doing it live.
We're live.
Together, along with our allies, we are right now enforcing powerful economic sanctions. We're cutting
I've
off
never
Russia's
heard him
largest
speak
banks
such
and
a
international
legible
financial
sentence
system, preventing
like that in a
Russia's
long
central
time.
bank from defending the Russian ruble, making Putin.
Oh shit! Oh man, there it is.
Worthless.
I can't.
We're choking
I just
Russia's
can't.
access.
It took less than
Random
30
clapping,
seconds
and no
just
idea
to
what they're
hear
clapping
him
for.
stutter through that.
Yeah.
The Russian ruble.
You know, it's so sad because it's like, how does no one in his corner, his family, no one stand up and be like, dude, he's not right. Like, I can't do this anymore. I mean,
Isn't that
that's
elder
what's
abuse?
so mind blowing to me. It's not people like that's what I don't get either. I really don't like that people are like, oh, screw Joe Biden and all this different stuff. Like, dude, we had 80 million people, whatever, 80 million people vote for him. Just say 50 million people, 60 million people, 70 million people. Think about that many people voting for someone who was mentally obviously not there. Think about that. I mean, that is mind blowing. It's not Joe Biden's fault, and that's why whether it's Trump or Biden, it's like it's not their fault. Think about the people who voted for him or something. You know, like that's the thing that really, like, wow, that really gets me. Unbelievable.
I mean, I think we wrap it up here, Dayton. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we should take a little segment here. I think if Brandon wants to watch, I don't know, Matt, are you cool to stick around? Because I know Chad's got to run, but if we want to keep the live cast going.
Yeah, I mean, we could. I forgot that half of this is just them standing up the entire dang time clapping, which is really annoying. I totally forgot about that. I don't know why I forgot, but I mean, like, yeah, I want to. Oh goodness!
I'm gonna go get drunk.
All right, hey, Commander Dayton.
Commander Whalls. Another great episode. Commander.
Yeah, that was great.
Under his
Notorious
eye.
BMG.
Yeah, the notorious BMG.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Dude, guys, you are the best. Hey, Brandon, thanks
Thanks,
for real. Thanks for being on
Yeah,
the show.
appreciate having you on the
It's
show.
totally awesome.
I appreciate you guys giving me some leeway for missing last week. So I didn't have it on the calendar last week. Forgot about it. Didn't have my calendar. Had it on the calendar this week. Now we're good to go.
I love that you called yourself out
Oh heck yeah!
on our live audience.
Yeah.
Extreme accountability.
I appreciate you, man.
Is that Jocko? Extreme
good.
extreme
Yeah,
ownership.
that is
Extreme ownership.
extreme
Extreme
ownership.
ownership.
Jocko
Yeah,
and
Jocko.
Leaf.
Heck yeah!
Fantastic.
Bitcoin. Extreme ownership.
Yeah, hey, I love you guys. It's been
Thank you.
awesome. Great show. Under his eye, Commander.
Love you guys. Great stuff.
Blessed day.
Blessed be the fruit of Bitcoin.